Good morning, good day. I hope you're doing really well. This video is not going to be too long, but I think it's really important to keep our minds and you just keep our awareness around. There is, for a lot of us, especially if you live in the West, and there is sometimes a lot of pressure this time of year. And I'm wondering if you resonate with that too. Does this happen for you where you feel like I need to perform this time of year so people are happy and the peace is kept and all those kind of things? And if you relate to that, you're in the right place today. My name is Tracy Brown. I'm a somatic nutrition dietitian and a tuning specialist. And today we're going to talk about, and I want you to really think about how this just resonates with you with your own experience. It doesn't have to be exactly the words I'm using, but think about ways in which you might perform to keep the peace and basically how that's impacting your food. And so this is what today's video is about. So what I'm finding at this time of year, and if you're watching this video outside of the December holidays, then you apply this to any time of year where you feel like that you need to be around people and there's this expectation, whether it's expectation to do stuff, to buy stuff, to be a certain way, to be happy. Recognize that if you don't feel happy, you're going to have emotions that can feel, it's almost like there's this double bind, and I'm going to show you how that comes out with food in a second. So what I see a lot with my clients is truly this time of year actually can bring up a lot of guilt and a lot of grief. And that can come from, kind of staying too long at events they don't want to, or going to things that you don't really want to at all. Of course, being around people who are talking about food and diets. We've been talking a lot about that this week on this channel. And it can kind of trigger like a little bit of like all the food. And it feels like it's, oh, because it's all the food, I better get it while I can kind of thing. But what I'm seeing for people is there's either I'm not going to eat any of it, or I better get it while I can. Oh, thank you, Emily. I really appreciate that. Okay, well, I hope that you keep watching and listening, and I can be as helpful as possible. Thank you, everybody who's watching live and leaving comments already right now. I really appreciate you. And all those who watch the replay, please tag me if you have any questions or comments as well. I'd love to hear from you. So a lot of times what we get kind of discombobulated with this time of year is all the expectations and all the body comments. And we know, if you've been watching my channel long enough, people project. And it's a huge step forward to be able to recognize, like, my body's not the problem. It's other people's insecurities. They feel the need to constantly talk about food and bodies and other people's food and bodies. That's the issue. It's not about me. It's unfortunate. And I don't want to have to deal with this, but it's actually, at the end of the day, not about me. So all this comes back to compassion. But let's say that you recognize, I know it, I get it, but there's something deeper in there that is feeling the need to perform and feeling guilty for maybe the frustration or grief that you might have this time of year. And think about the qualities of that. Grief and guilt kind of feel heavy, and it can kind of feel like it's pulling you down. And this is where I see the food come in, is that oftentimes we eat foods we don't want to, eat more of what we do or don't want, and just not all the way be attuned, because what we're truly trying to feed isn't always physical hunger or even some pleasure eating. It goes beyond that. There's this need, as we start eating, you can feel the adrenaline go, right? And then you get some pleasure and you get some relief maybe from that guilt and grief that you're feeling. And what we're doing is we're shifting our state when we're doing that. And that's really important to recognize, that people feel like, I was doing so good. What happened? Like a day ago, a week ago, where I feel like food's a little bit more of a thing again. It's, I know I haven't lost all my progress, but what happened? And it's like, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, is that, if we've got a capacity this big, and then you throw in a certain time of year with expectations or memories, or maybe it's sadder than normal this time of year, and maybe there's more stuff to do, and you haven't been using, restricting or binging in weeks, months, maybe years, but there's this internal shift. It's not always about the external can remind us of the internal. And we might do a reach for food for relief and some pleasure and even some kind of adrenaline pump. And it's not even about what the foods are. I mean, if you decode what those foods are, you'll get a sense of what the story is. But for now, just recognize that we are just trying to shift the state. If you're feeling like guilt and grief are pulling you down, we might eat to shift ourselves. And that's all it is. And so I'm just encouraging you with today's video to get curious. If I want relief and pleasure and to feel a little more up, then what could I take some time to give to myself? And honestly, sometimes it's just awareness and really deep self-compassion of like, oh yeah, this is the thing I do. Yeah, oh yeah, I do that thing when things build up. And because I don't really want to be eating XYZ, or I do, but not this much, and or not this little. It goes both ways. It totally goes both ways. So oftentimes, I think sometimes this time of year we think we can't take the time, but if I had to leave you with anything, just one thing today, is take more time to slow down, to get clear and honest and integrity about how you actually feel about things and what your needs truly are, so they're not diminished. Because I think sometimes with all the expectations, there's a level of like, kind of how we really feel doesn't matter as much because we got to keep peace, or not make anybody uncomfortable because we're more honest, or maybe we don't stay as long, or whatever the things you find will give you the relief that you're looking for. And so food can just be food, and enjoyable, yes, and pleasurable and nourishing, but it's not the only thing that we can use to shift our state. So take some time today. My call of action to you today is to think about like, what would be nice? Not just with food, like what would be really nourishing today and how could you get enough of it, but also just about how you spend your time. Do you need more time in your cushy chair? Or do we need to get outside a little more? Or just to slow our pace? And see what, if any of those things resonate with you this morning or this evening or whenever you're watching this video. So thank you all so much for watching live and the replay. And if you have any questions, if you feel like this video is encouraging, then please pass it along to your friends, because we could all use some encouragement, especially every day, of course, but especially this time of year. So thank you all so much, and have a good one for now. Take care.